By the following Christmas to the Switch's initial release, it outsold the Wii U. In less than a year, Nintendo completed one of the greatest comebacks in video game history. The minimal launch titles and slow first few months made fans think that the company was done for. But thanks to one specific game and strong marketing, it was a huge success. The first year is often the most important in a console's lifecycle, as first impressions are, which is why I believe that without Breath of the Wild, Nintendo would have been utterly screwed. In fact, Nintendo did not account for their own success to the point that during a period of restock, Breath of the Wild sold more than the console itself, showing the importance of the game and the actual reason why people were getting the system. Because software sells hardware. If Breath of the Wild had not done as well as it did, it's possible that fewer people would have bought a Switch. Though it removed simplicity and reliability, the Switch selling out actually improved people's awareness. Because this kind of information typically makes it to larger news sites. The unusual fact of Zelda selling more also would have been an interesting topic to that of the casual audience, aka the primary market Nintendo wants to sell to. As sales built, so did momentum. It wasn't all luck, as the Switch is simply an amazing machine, but luck plays a part in practically all of the biggest businesses ever. Moving back to Breath of the Wild's importance, it also made a humongous impact on the gaming industry, winning Game of the Year and accumulating an even larger amount of eyes on the system. This game had to be good, because the only other system sellers were 1-2 Switch and Bomberman R, both known as poor entries. The Wii U showed Nintendo their first real failure and essentially woke them up from continued laziness. Within the company, success is achieved from the unique aspect of the new Nintendo game, which faded during a period of comfortability and riding off of the Wii's success. I won't deny that the Wii U actually is a pretty good console, but everything about it just seems safe. New Super Mario Bros. U is literally the most generic Mario game ever. The name itself rides completely on its predecessor, and the only other first-party launch game was Nintendo Land, which in its own right is fantastic, but definitely not a system seller. If it weren't for the Wii U, Nintendo may have begun a slow downward spiral as they innovate less and less, and each game bleeds into the next. Games like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey may never have come to light due to their quite significant departure from previous entries in their respective series. And I can almost guarantee that Super Mario Bros. Wonder would have been called New Super Mario Bros. Switch. In fact, I'd like to argue that without the Switch, Zelda itself may have crumbled from a big name franchise, as its lack of mainline entries on the Wii U, bar Breath of the Wild, really shrunk its presence. In fact, up until about 2018, I didn't even know what Zelda was, let alone the plethora of revived and boosted franchises on the Switch, like 2D Metroid, Pikmin and Fire Emblem, all of which would not have been possible without the Switch's success and, by extension, the Wii U's failure. Currently, the Nintendo Switch is placed precisely third out of the best-selling gaming systems of all time, so I want to briefly go over second and first place and why they sold so well. The DS was introduced as the next step from the Game Boy series, appealing to both consumers and developers. In fact, did you know that the DS stands for Developer System, because they wanted to emphasize the innovation devs could accomplish with the device. The hardware definitely was more of a selling factor, as the launch software wasn't massively strong compared to other systems, but I'd say they were still worth the purchase. Mario 64, originally a massively innovative game launching on the DS. Though not new, this was hugely hype and acted as a showcase of the DS's power. You'd be hard pressed to find a person that hasn't heard of the DS, as its reach was global. As of now, it is Nintendo's best selling system with 154 million sold, but I believe that this won't be the case for too much longer. The PS2, on the other hand, was the next natural step from the PlayStation, released in 1994. It launched with hits like Armored Core 2 and Midnight Club, but again, nothing too crazy. After launch, the sales and library speedily picked up, resulting in 1.5 billion copies of games sold and over 4,000 publicly available. The final number of units landed on 155 million, but the actual number is a little larger, yet unknown on the specifics. Though well deserved, the PS2 was at the time seen as a cheap DVD player and was widely regarded to sold as well as it did due to said functionality. I in no means mean to slander the extent to which the PS2 sold, but I will say that I do not think that it deserved to be as well selling as it was from a games console's perspective. There is no real data to provide an accurate representation of future Switch sales, as the most modern examples are low selling anomalies. The Switch has sold 143.42 million units, and the projected sales for the current fiscal year are 13.5 million. Basic maths shows that by Q1 of 2025, the Switch will become the best selling console ever. Let that sink in. Nintendo went from their greatest failure to their greatest success, back to back. Coupled with potential price drops and bundles, it may even be the first system to reach 160 million. The Switch, in my humble opinion, is the greatest console of all time. Sure, Nintendo is slowing down to prepare for the next generation, but take a step back. The Switch created the brand new genre of a hybrid and is unique in its nature on this list. It inspired an immense number of open world games with the launch of Breath of the Wild and showed the importance of gameplay over graphics. Nintendo's current console may well be the largest gap in power compared to Sony and Microsoft ever recorded, but it still destroys their sales numbers by a landslide. The Switch generation will be officially over in 2025, and thanks to Nintendo's best mistake, I think that it will be even better than the Switch is now. Thank you for watching.